When I was coming up, I genuinely believed that what separated the men from the boys, what made you a quote unquote real man, was your ability to lay up with as many chicks as humanly possible. I believed that a function of a man was to slang your dang-a-lang and that was it. Not to be in a committed relationship, not to, be intentional and actually build a family, or God forbid, you develop masculine virtue, you work on your character, you build integrity. No. What made you a man was getting some coot nanny. Simple. And so when this video came up, I thought I really have to dive into this, not just because the Shannon Sharpe story is super viral and everybody's still talking about it and caring about somebody else's business, which I'm as guilty as anybody else. I could be nosy just like anybody else. But I felt that this point has, it's been a long time coming since somebody finally spoke the whole damn truth. Now, obviously, in different circles, people are probably having this conversation. But as far as we are concerned, as men or quote unquote black men, the conversation is oftentimes look at these 304s, look at these women running around being streetwalkers. But what about the fact that many of us as black men sexualize ourselves and we view the world through a lens of sexuality? Now, I'm not saying that's not human or it's inherently wrong, but the fact that you continue to objectify your own damn self, you see yourself as nothing more than the thing slanging between your legs. Your entire modus operandi, your operating system is based upon getting to the cookie. That right there is off. As a matter of fact, if that is your mentality, it will ruin your life. You will end up being the next Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe is not an anomaly, unfortunately. This is the story. This is the mainstream narrative. And just because it's happening at, a celebrity, quote unquote, level, it seems like a bigger thing. But every day I hear stories of young men and grown ass men, quote unquote, grown men, really adult males that find themselves in this perpetual loop of objectifying themselves and therefore objectifying everybody around them. And so this is a little bit more of a nuanced conversation we're about to get into, but I'm going to let this young lady explain. We're going to get all the way into it, and I'm going to break it down at a cellular level. So let's get into it. Make sure the volume levels are leveling.
As a white girl who has
boom.
dated black guys since the age of 15, I feel like you guys need my perspective on this Shannon Sharpe shit, because everything I'm seeing is like white women are fetishizing black men. Like the Shannon Sharpe stitch, like the girl said something about, I want your black baby, right? I have had black men come to me and say, I want you to have my black baby. Not, I want you to have my baby. That's the exception.
Fellas, is she lying? Like maybe you have it, right? But me, when I was coming up, I looked at some of these white girls and thought to myself, oh, snow bunny. That's a snow bunny. Not a human being, not somebody's daughter, not a young lady who's soon to become a woman, a snow bunny. Because we're seeing through the lens of, never mind, let's let her continue.
Response. No, I want you to have my black baby. And I have had black men ask me to say very derogatory things in bed. Yeah. So part of it is not that white women are fetishizing black men. It's like the opposite. And I feel like this isn't being talked about. And I don't want to get any hate for this, guys, because this is.
And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen the other way around, right? Black men are definitely fetishized by almost every ethnicity of people. We have created tropes, but there's a reason for that. I'm going to let her continue, but I really have to share this story because I feel like it is perfectly encapsulating of this phenomenon. So you have an artist by the name of D'Angelo from back in the day, neo soul artist, etc., right? Fellow Aquarian, shout out to my guy. So he puts out a video for, I don't know if it was Brown Sugar or one of his big records. And essentially in the video, he's naked, he's nude. Right. And the video is like showing his body. Dude was, he was ripped up at the time. Right. He was no homo. The dude was doing what he needed to do in that damn gym and in that damn kitchen. Right. And so the whole video is him basically having his body revealed in real time. That's it. And let's just say that video led to D'Angelo becoming a quote unquote sex symbol. And women would throw themselves at him in public, in private, everywhere he went. He had the sort of pull that some of, the biggest athletes or whatever, like the stories that you hear about the Magic Johnsons or whatever it was. There was 50 women at the hotel, 20 women in the room already, that type of stuff. But yet D'Angelo was the type of guy who felt that he was deeper than that, right? He felt that he was more than just that. And so he looked to basically intentionally self-sabotage his career, or essentially sabotage that part of his career. And so he stepped away and he started putting on weight. He said, I don't want to be this. I don't want to be known for this. Now, this is a rare occurrence because most dudes would think to themselves, that's the goal. That's the mission. That's what I want. I want to be sexualized by the women around me. That's the mecca of what I'm going for. That's the epitome of what I'm going for. And that's a warped mentality. That's a backwards mentality. And it's a very dangerous mentality. So what this chick here is saying is real. What homegirl's saying is true. In my own personal experience, in my homeboy's experience, I know how we used to talk about certain chicks, most chicks. I know how we used to see them. I know how we used to essentially, want to play into some of these dynamics. So we got to be real here. Shannon Sharpe did not end up in a situation where this woman is being racist to him. No, he was initiating that foolishness. This is an 18, 19-year-old girl. At least at the time she was around 19 years old, right? When they first met, etc. So Shannon definitely introduced her to these themes. I'm not saying she didn't have the capacity to have it in her. We can see from the messages, right? But Shannon is somebody who, again, that's his preference and that's his business. So be it. Do your thing, bruh. I'm all for any type of relationship that you desire to have with the person who cares and loves you. I don't give a damn what complexion, color, ethnicity. I don't give a damn about any of that. But this brother right here continued to get himself into these relationships with a very certain type of woman, a very specific archetype. And he liked to get into the race play. Where does that come from? It comes from him seeing himself as that buck, like he never left the damn plantation. He's still looking at himself like the buck before the buck gets broken by the slave master. That's how he's still looking at himself. You understand me? A big, bubbling, baffling buffoon. I'm going to put this big old... He has said that without a shadow of a doubt. He has said that. How do I know? Because from his own lips, he stated that there is going to be some of the worst racial stereotypes you're going to hear in whatever tape, I guess, is floating about. I'm not interested in watching it, but I can only imagine what's on that damn tape. So again, to bring it back to the grander conversation, this girl's not lying. Now, she definitely spelt his name wrong on the damn title. I just noticed that, but she's not lying. So I'm going to let her finish this off.
My personal experience, but I've had more black men than not mention race in our relationship as like a king. I don't know. I don't even know if that's like the right way to describe it. But there are some black men in this world that I think like want, I don't know if they want to reenact. I don't know if it's like a power trip of like, I don't know, but I just feel like that piece is important to this puzzle.
Yeah. So I feel we have to start being more honest with ourselves. We do. We have to stop pointing the finger to the other side and saying it is all on them. And that's including me. When it's all said and done on this channel, I do my best to expose different ideas, whether it is those things that we don't want to look at or some things with more of a comedic value or whatever it is. But still, hopefully there's a level of insight. But at the core of it all is just being real. Just be honest. You know, many of us pretend through life. We pretend as if we're doing the things we truly want to do with our lives. We pretend as if we're truly in the relationships we want to be in. We pretend as if, we're not doing something, but everybody else is doing that thing. I'm as guilty of most things that I speak of and speak in contradiction of, or speak, shine light and show the negativity of. I'm as guilty of all those things. I was the dog. I was running them streets. I was the dope boy. I wasn't born to be that. I wasn't raised to be that, but I looked to fulfill a certain stereotype. I believe that that's what was going to make me one of the group, one of the collective. I was on the dope. I was selling the dope. I was running around partying all throughout my teen years, addicted. I done lost homeboys, best friends, day ones to that lifestyle. I don't say these things because I feel like I'm better than you. I say these things because I understand how detrimental they are and how much they strip you of your humanity, which is your power. They strip you of power. When you go through life as a quote unquote man, believing that life is about getting as much tail as possible, as opposed to building something, a foundation, and building your quote unquote empire upon that foundation, a rock solid foundation. But instead, you're willing to throw away everything you have to lose for what? For some coot. For some oot nanny. That's crazy. If you put things into perspective and you really think about what are you getting out that situation? What did Shannon get for losing damn near everything he has worked for? I'm not saying he's never going to have a job, never going to have work, never going to have, a successful business or whatever. But right now, where he is in his career, he was on the verge of $100 million contract and everything else that came with it. He was on an incline. They were talking about he's the quote unquote black equivalent of Joe Rogan. I didn't make that comparison. They're saying that in the propaganda machine, right? But he was getting the numbers. He's getting the traction. He's becoming more influential than he even was when he was in the NFL. But yet everything was almost, if not likely, gone in an instant because of his inability and unwillingness to regulate that aspect of himself. And if we're real about it, a lot of these whacked out ideas we have of like, oh, I'm into this and I'm into that and I'm into that. It comes from watching that dirty, freaky, nasty content. Shout out to Tony Gaskins. It's nasty, it's freaky, it's dirty, it's disgusting, as he would say. It's nasty. You're watching the so-called adult content. Yes, you're an adult. You can do what you want. You're over 18. That's the age that they put on that stuff, right? But guess what? It's going to have a detrimental effect on your life. It will. And a lot of this is nothing more than gooning activities. The mind is continuously gooning. The difference is you're doing it behind a damn screen. He's doing it in real life. The difference is quite embarrassing, but still, both of them are going to lead down a trajectory where you are essentially will lose everything. If you even get to that place, most of y'all will never get there. I'm going to be straight up. Most of y'all will never get there because you have an inability to discipline yourself. So again, this right here is it's a piece of a larger conversation of the mentality that is just continuously on sexual overdrive. That's all you can think of. That's all you can. Everything is determined and dictated by, can I get to this? How do I get to this? I remember being a youngster and that's all we were on. You're playing the game. You're running around. You're trying to be everything in your vicinity is seen as a way to that, as opposed to a way to growth, to building something of substance, to actually discovering who you truly are. And your whole world is affirming it. I was listening to, I forget his name, but he's a very insightful brother with a big black and white salt and pepper beard. That's the characteristic, bald-headed salt and pepper beard. And he was talking about how when he was a youngster, he went to, some girl's house with his cousin. So his cousin had some girlfriend. He brought his little cousin with him. And turns out that his older cousin's girlfriend had a little sister who was about the same age as he was, 13, 14. So big cousin goes and does what he does with his girlfriend. And when he finally leaves, he asks his little cousin, did you hit? Did you smash? Did you get in those? And he says, what do you mean? And he says, wait, you didn't? So what did you do? And he's like, well, no, of course not. No. And then big cousin is like, wait, are you a virgin? And all of a sudden he starts busting out laughing. Ha ha ha. They end up going home. Aunties are there, mama's cousins, these ones, those ones. And big cousin basically announces to the whole family that 15-year-old little cousin is still a virgin. Everybody starts busting out laughing. Now, that type of situation should be disturbing for you. To say that these people they are essentially shaming this child, this teenage boy, for not being promiscuous. You don't see the problem with that. But yet we're in a day and age where mothers would tell their daughters, go out there and explore. Fathers would tell their sons, go out there and spread your seed far and wide, as opposed to discipline yourself, as opposed to you're not this physical thing. How many girls are out there at the age of 12, 13, 14, already trying to look like grown women, already trying to get the attention and the sexual attraction and validation of the guys around them, as opposed to thinking about what, young girls should be thinking about, even in context of relationship, of connection, bonding, marriage, down the line, etc. You're thinking about freak, dirty, nasty things. And I know I can't click a button that cleanses every single mind, but the very least I could do was be honest. So, what she's speaking on, again, these types of phenomenons come from a mind that is given over. It's completely given over to the most animalistic of characteristics. You are so much more than that. That aspect of you, yes, it's a part of you. It's a part of your humanness. But when it overcomes you, you are no more than an animal at that level. These are the facts. Shannon, it does not matter how much you build, how much money you make, what you do, how hard you work. You will throw it all away for an animalistic urge that you did not choose to bring under your control and your dominion. And so I hope for the folks listening out there that, we move different and we're real about this, and we stop building each other up on the basis of how much did you get, and instead on what type of man are you. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking a 3-6-5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.